disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that his mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, proudly saying Roll Tide and War Eagle. Stop into University Kia today and shop one of the area's largest selection of new Kias, including Fortes, Seltos, Tellurides, and Popular Carnival, and fully electric EV6. View all the great specials at universitykia.com and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia you really want, because we want to see you in a University Kia.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Alabama softball won its weekend series against Georgia in Tuscaloosa. Here are post-game thoughts from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Patrick Murphy.
It was a very gritty win, very resilient. Got a tough group of young ladies. The analogy of bend but don't break really comes into play, especially today. And at the very end, the defense did that. That was huge. We needed it. You know, after usually on a Sunday, and we call it Championship Sunday, it's probably going to be an offensive day because both teams have seen a lot of the pitchers. They know what's going to be thrown. They know, the hitters. And it's usually the team that scores obviously big runs in the last day. And thank goodness we had 8 because we needed all of them.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us tonight for Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance, live at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa at 6 p.m. Central. Hey Coach is available to listen to across our full radio network, the Varsity Network app, as well as a video stream on all CTSN social media platforms at UA_CTSN. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you are. There you go. And there you have it. We're back. We're live. We're brand new. It's Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond on a stormy Monday morning. Safe travels into work, into school, wherever you may be headed. 65 degrees right now. Your high today is supposed to be 69 in the Tennessee Valley. But just stay weather aware today, especially as you make your way into work, into school, wherever you may be headed. We get you started thanks to Talent Heating and Air. They're serving Huntsville and surrounding areas. Let their talent do the work for you. 256-503-4490. It's Talent Heating and Air helping us get started. You can give them a call. How about this? They've got a combined experience of over 40 years. They stand by their commitment. They're live. They're local. When you give them a call, you literally give them a call. They're going to answer the phone, 256-503-4490. Give them a call. It's our good friends, Talent Heating and Air. They helped us out with our bracket challenge this year, the Talent Heating and Air bracket challenge. We're down to the final 4. After yesterday's 2 games, the SEC had a chance yesterday to put 3 teams in the final 4. Ultimately, the SEC ends up with 50% of the field in the Final Four. Tennessee just gets ran over by Houston. And then in the nightcap yesterday, the Auburn Tigers taking on Michigan State in Atlanta. And if you listen to that one either on the radio or in over the airwaves on the TV, my, oh my, that sounded like an Auburn home game as Auburn just gets a 70-64 win. Janai Broome was, well, I don't know how many words you can use to describe Janai Broome yesterday. 25 points, 14 rebounds, 21st double-double of the season. He had a double-double in this one by halftime, did Janai Broome, for the win. Auburn advances to the Final Four, second time in program history, joining the 2019 team. Auburn extends its program record with its 32nd win of the season, which is tied for the 13th most victories in a season in SEC history. And then Auburn improved to 23-13 all-time in NCAA tournament games, 2-1 in the Elite Eight. Bruce Pearl, by the way, is 21-13 now in Division I tournament games and 12-5 overall at Auburn.
Yep, it was a Willis Reed type performance for Janai Broome. He got injured a couple times, tweaked his ankle, and then late in the game tweaked his elbow. And the game was still not over by any stretch when he tweaked his elbow. There's 10 minutes and change left. But this Auburn team's actually been without him, for stretches all year. So I thought they could still manage it with how much time was left in the game because of how well Dylan Cardwell had been playing on the defensive end. And then also Chaney Johnson. I think Chaney low-key has done a really nice job. And then Auburn's guard play, while it wasn't as good as we saw in the win on Friday, I thought it was still more than good enough to win the game on Sunday. I just thought Auburn was the better team. They kept Michigan State at arm's length. Michigan State had trouble making shots. Auburn had a lot to do with that, with how good they are defensively. But when you're the number one overall seed, you should have a easier path, quote unquote, because you've earned it. And I thought that this Michigan State team under Tom Izzo maxed out. They won 30 games. They won the Big Ten in the regular season.
They were 13-3 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and and actually, I think they're even better than that. I want to say they were 17-3. I think they played 20 home conference games because of the expanded leagues. Yeah, but death taxes in the Big Ten not winning a national championship.
Yeah, they're the last Big Ten team to win one.
Yeah, back when he had dark hair and he was pretty early in his career, and it was the year 2000.
Yeah,
25 years since the Big Ten won a championship, and they were the last Big Ten team remaining. But they're tough-minded, and they made Auburn earn it. I mean, they made some shots late. They made several threes, and Auburn had to make free throws. Janai missed his two, but luckily they got the ball to the people that they needed to, the Chad Baker Mazzaras and the Denver Jones and the people that are their better free throw shooters, Miles Kelly. And so Auburn was able to ease away and win this game. And I'm still in pretty good shape. I've got, 3 of the Final Four. The only one that fell short was death taxes in Tennessee, which is death taxes and choking in the Elite Eight and not getting to the Final Four. I thought this was the year that the Vols would finally make it. I thought they had an advantage over Houston because I thought this Tennessee team was a little better offensively than some of Rick Barnes' other teams. But when you score 15 points in one half, and at one point you're 3 of 22 overall, and you miss your first 14 threes, they continued to battle, to their credit. I mean, I think the closest they got in the second half was 9. But my God, I mean, when you score 15 points in a half, it's just going to be really, really difficult because you expend so much energy getting it to 9, and Houston makes you do that. And so Arsenault for Houston came off the bench and made some big shots in the first half. They were able to build that 34-15 lead. So you just got to give Houston a lot of credit for the way they played. I had Houston in the Elite Eight, but I had them losing to the Vols. And but I mean, I do think they're a great basketball team. I still think Duke is going to beat them in the semifinals. I've got Duke beating them. I think, like I said, I posted this on my X account after Alabama got shellacked by Duke. there was 2 teams in the country that I thought were definitively better than Alabama all year, Florida and Duke. I didn't know until I saw it on Saturday night if Duke was, but they were. And certainly Florida was. I've got Florida and Duke in the finals. I think they're the 2 best teams. I think Florida, and I guess that's the way the bracket's supposed to work. They were the 4th 1 seed, so they've had the most difficult path to get here. That Texas Tech team, I think, was much better than anybody ever thought. They pushed Florida to the brink, but then, Walter
Let
Clayton.
it get away.
Walter Clayton, man. You got missed 2 front end 1-and-1s, and then Howe and Thomas Howe and Walter Clayton. What a job they did making shots. And then I just think overall, when you look at it, they also had to play UConn, who's an 8 seed, 2-time defending national champ, had won 13 NCAA tournament games in a row. But the Gators are tested, and it's going to be a fascinating matchup with Auburn because they beat Auburn and Neville, as we know, back during conference play. The only time they met each other, they didn't play in the SEC tournament, and Florida did it on the road without Elijah Martin. And Elijah Martin is their second best player. They're probably their best defender, and he made a lot of big plays in that comeback against Texas Tech as well. So it's going to be a great matchup with Auburn and Florida. But I will say this.
There's ties, too, there, because when Bruce Pearl arrived at Auburn in 2014, his first hire as a director of basketball operations was some cat named Todd Golden. That was his first hire at Auburn for director of basketball operations.
Well, I mean, think about that. That's basically just slightly over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Todd Golden's already a head coach that's in the Final Four. They've done remarkable things at Florida. I think they've got the deepest team in America that I've seen. They go at least 9 deep with 9 quality players. And they're going to need them if they're going to win a national championship because Auburn is certainly formidable. They're having the best year in the history of the school. You could argue even better than the team that's now, I guess you'd say, 5+. It's really 6, the second Final Four in 6
the
years.
2019 team. Yeah. Because that 2019 team went on a run late to get some momentum into the thing. They weren't.
And they were a top 5 seed. They were not a number 1 overall.
Seed. No, they were not projected to get to the 5. I mean, it was a shock because remember that year, they had to beat North Carolina, they had to beat Kentucky
and Kansas all
in a row.
Yeah, after they barely escaped against Chris Jans and New Mexico State due to missed free throws. So they had to beat 3 blue bloods in a row. Then they lost the controversial game to Virginia in the semifinals before Virginia won their only title under Tony Bennett.
And they lost their bet. They lost one of the guys that was
Chumo Kiki. Killing it. I mean, he was the best player on the floor. They were not just beating North Carolina, they were shellacking, destroying, and mutilating North Carolina in the Sweet 16 matchup where a lot of people thought they were going to lose, including myself. I thought Carolina would end it for Auburn, but Auburn dominated. I think they were up 27, something like that. And then
that one wasn't even close. The Kentucky one, to get them to the Final Four, they had to go to overtime in 19.
Yeah, and they had lost a couple of times to Kentucky, including by 30 one time, but they beat them when it counted, so Kentucky continues to gag. But anyway, like we've said, but I will say what the SEC has done with getting 7, they got 7 teams in the Sweet 16.
Yes.
Could have easily got 6 in the Elite 8 because Ole Miss didn't finish against Michigan State, in my opinion, and then Arkansas just flat gagged down the stretch against Texas Tech. They should have won that game. So they could have easily had 6 of the Elite 8, but they had 4. They had half. Now they have half the Final Four, and now they've guaranteed themselves a spot in the national championship game. So I just answered this earlier this morning on another station. They asked me, is the SEC already had a great run? And I said, I think it's one of the top 2 ever. I think the 85 Big East with 3 of the Final Four, and then both the finalists with Georgetown and Villanova, and then Villanova winning it probably was the best run ever. But I will say this. I think this is solidified at least top 2.
Yeah.
And if Florida or Auburn were to win the national championship, I've got Florida actually beating Duke. I'm going to go with my bracket. That's what I picked before this ever started, even though I will say beating Duke right now looks like a daunting task, even though Houston is very formidable. If the SEC wins this, I think it's the best run ever because they'll have the last team standing, and they would have pretty much dominated every round. I know they lost quite a few games in the round of 64, but you had 14 teams in it, and it was a dominant year.
the heavyweights have shown up in the SEC in this
Yeah,
tournament.
I mean,
The
I thought
heavyweights have
3 of the
done what they
top
were supposed to
4,
do.
what we had in Nashville.
Right.
I thought 3 of them were going to get to San Antonio.
Right.
And then if Alabama had played better and made some shots, and they had open looks against Duke, they had they missed dunks, they had opportunities. You could have the Big Four could have been the Final Four. I didn't think it was likely. That's why I had Duke beating Alabama, but I thought the other 3 could make it. I thought Tennessee got a good draw, but they just never could get it going. And in that Elite Eight, man, they had one of their worst offensive games of the year, and Houston had a lot to do with that.
Houston's defense is good.
Houston is so physical, and
Yes.
Houston they kind of impose their will on you, and they certainly did that. To credit to Kelvin Sampson, Bobby Champagne, and that group. And shout out to Chase McCarty. I know I saw the photos of his family on the floor. I mean, getting the chance to go to the Final Four. And heck, we haven't really talked about it, but it's in San Antonio, so the Cougar Nation's going to show out. I mean, they might have close to half the crowd. We'll see.
When you look at it, Huntsville, I mean, I know Chase is redshirting this year, but Denver Jones from Buckhorn is in the Final Four. Chase McCarty from Westminster Christian Academy is in the Final Four. So, I mean,
Chaney
Johnson from UAH is in the Final Four. So, I mean, North Alabama well represented in San Antonio. Let's get a break in. When we come back, speaking of Chaney Johnson, we will hear from Bruce Pearl and Chaney Johnson after the win yesterday in Atlanta. Plus, we'll look ahead to Vegas. Vegas has put odds on all 4 teams, who has the best and who has the worst odds, according to Vegas.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a right reported 565 westbound at Wall Triana, possible injury there. 53 in Burwell's reported with injury. Got 67 in Pleasant Acres in Morgan County, injuries there. 72 in Balch reported with an injury. Browns Ferry west of County Line had somebody hurt. Had a pedestrian struck by a vehicle on University near Putman. And we had one at Gordon Terry in West Morgan. Actually, it's the second wreck at that intersection now. Do your methods to lose weight no longer work for you? 7 different hormones can make it impossible for you to lose weight. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at GenSuperstore.com.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey, Wes. Our company, Fleming Roofing and Restoration, specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a 5th-generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
You guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10 plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey, Wes, we show up.
Now is the time to sign up for the Eagle Installation WZZN Charity Golf Tournament to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation. This year's event is the morning of April 21st at Cherokee Ridge, and each member of the winning team not only gets the championship belts, but a full year membership to Cherokee Ridge. Breakfast and lunch are provided, plus tremendous prizes and a chance to win $100,000. Cost is $800 a team or $200 per individual, and corporate sponsorships are available. Send an email to 977WZZNevents@gmail.com to reserve your spot today.
Want to save some money?
I can take money and I can make it into more money.
Just check out our zone deals online at 977ESPN.com. We are 977 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, welcome back in. Bruce Pearl, after yesterday's Elite Eight win over Michigan State.
I guess the first thought is there are 4 teams in the country that are left, and Auburn is one of them. And so we couldn't be happier. I want to congratulate Michigan State on an incredible year. We saw them in Maui, and they were good. But I don't know that when we saw them in Maui that you'd look at that team and say, hey, they're going to go 17-3 in the Big Ten. And they did. The Big Ten was good. And I thought Tom and I talked before the games, our teams kind of mirrored each other in many ways, the way we defended, how hard we play, the way we try to, dominate the backboard, so on and so forth. But I felt going in that we were better. I felt like I had better players, and I felt like we, and that's not a criticism at all. I told our guys right now, we haven't beaten a team yet that I thought was better than us. And that's why we're the overall number 1 seed. And now we're going to the Final Four where there are 4 1 seeds. And I think the 4 teams that are advanced, I think they're the 4 best teams in the country. That doesn't obviously always happen. So Janai Broom stepped up again. Just keep doubting him and keep thinking that he's not going to be able to get to another gear. And one of the reasons why I'm on him and my son Steven's on him pretty good is because I know what he's capable of. I know what he's capable of. And he talked about delivering again at the biggest moments. Just last thing is just grateful for our fans and our families because Auburn looked we are a football school. We are. Don't ever forget that. We're a football school. We are. But we are also an everything school. Okay, we're an everything school, and our fans represented really well.
Bruce Pearl after the win, and he mentioned the Final Four teams. He mentioned the 4, and Vegas has it this way: of the 4 teams remaining, the Duke Blue Devils, according to Vegas, have the best odds to win the national championship at plus 100, followed by the Florida Gators at plus 275, followed by the Houston Cougars at plus 400, and the Auburn Tigers are a plus 525. So much to what you said, Duke, Florida, Houston, and Auburn, if you reseeded the Final Four, that is what you would have, and that's what you felt like, Duke, Florida, Houston, and Auburn. Vegas feels the exact same way as far as odds go to win the national title.
That's just eye test, man. What you see right now. And I'm not disrespecting Houston, who I know just eviscerated Tennessee, but
and it's not disrespecting Auburn either. I mean, you look at how they've played up to this point in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Duke and Florida. I mean, I know Florida had to come from behind to get the win over Texas Tech, but
I just think Florida, they beat Tennessee 2 out of 3 times, just like Houston beat Tennessee.
Right.
And I think, and then you also look at how it matches up. Florida's going to play Auburn. That'll be the second meeting to them. And then Houston's going to have to play Duke. So it's going to be 2 tremendous matchups. No question about it. Duke has looked like the best team when you look at both sides of the floor.
Right.
I'm talking about Duke being efficient offensively because Duke is not a team that'll take usually over 23s. They just want to make, a 40% or better percentage. They want to take good threes. I believe they only took 13 against Alabama, and I think they made 6. So they don't depend on getting a lot of threes up. They just want to be very efficient offensively. And they shot nearly 54% overall and then from 2-point land because they were able to get to the rim against Alabama and dominate the glass. And that was a key for them. And that's what they'll have to do against Houston, because Houston, we know how physical Houston is. And Duke's going to have to match their physicality. They're going to have to rebound the basketball and be efficient offensively. And this is one of Kelvin Sampson's better shooting teams, though. He has 3 or 4 guys that can knock down threes. They don't have a traditional inside game, but they do. Juwan Roberts and those guys, they get on the glass. They do. It's not like they're an inside-out team. I still think they're guard-oriented, but they just do a good job of out-competing you against the glass. And that's what they're going to have to do against Duke. But I just think Duke has the most talent. I think they've got 3 lottery picks. They've got the number 1 overall pick in Cooper Flagg, who's an outstanding player, who, even though Alabama did a great job defending him, he still found a way to score 16 points.
Right.
And then you've got Malawatch, who is a beast around the rim. Just now, again, they're similar to Alabama. It's not like they throw it to him inside all the time. This is not a Christian Laettner, Danny Ferry type deal, Elton Brand, Sheldon Williams deal. It's a lot of alley-oops and rim runs, but he's outstanding at doing it. And then they have Knipple, who is just an operator. I mean, he just knows how to come off screens perfect. He'll set you up. He knows how to get his shot off in tight quarters, going to the rim. He can shoot the 3 as well. They do a good job of screening. And then Tyrese Proctor is a guy, to me, that has, overall, he's just come into his own. Like when he came to Duke 3 years ago, he reclassified like Kyra Lewis. They thought he was going to be a lottery pick, be like a 1 or 2 and done, but he struggled at the end of last year, and he's kind of struggled being a point guard. Like that's why they brought in Sion James from Tulane. And Duke really doesn't have a complete point guard.
Right.
Sion James does some of it, Tyrese, and then Cooper Flagg's so talented he can be like a point forward. But that's probably, if you want to say, if Duke had a one weakness, they don't have a pure point guard, but they're huge. I mean, they're average 6'8", and they're so long and physical, and they're just a really good defensive team in addition to being a very efficient offensive team. And, after watching all 4 teams play throughout their regionals, I think Duke probably is the best team in the country, though I'm going to stick with my bracket. I mean, I've got Florida beating Duke. I'm not gonna go away from what I predicted, but I do think Duke is playing as well as anybody in the country right now.
One of the big moments from yesterday's game was the fact Johni Broome, I'm laughing because I'll tell you something during the break. And if you listen to the Auburn press conference, there was a moment inside the Auburn press conference that reflected a moment here last week. It was pretty funny. But Chaney Johnson had to step up because Johni Broome left for a few minutes. After the game yesterday, Chaney was brought into the press room and was asked about having to play those minutes with Johni Broome in the locker room getting x-rays.
Credit to Michigan State because they have incredible bigs. They're real physical. And we just had to continue playing tough. When Johni went out, my heart dropped, but he came to me and Dylan was like, you might have to finish this for us. So we were just like, all right, we got to lock in and continue being tough because, toughness wins in March.
There you go. Former UAH Charger, Chaney Johnson.
8.6 boards. He played 25 minutes. And so
he had the first 2 points of the game after Johni left.
Yeah, he did a great job. So it was a little bit of an elbow turnaround jumper, smooth shot. So, I think Chaney did a great job. Pettiford ended up with 10. He was only 4 of 12, but he gave him 27 minutes. Denver Jones didn't have the scoring game that he did in the Sweet 16 matchup, but certainly Denver had 8. Miles Kelly, same deal, didn't have a great shooting game. They're going to have to shoot it better and play at a higher offensive clip against Florida because Florida is so talented. And they can run the 4 bigs at you, the 5 guards. And then Florida just seems to be able to make plays in the clutch too. Walter Clayton ended up with a slow start but had 30 against Texas Tech. He's as good a guard as there is in the country. And then Thomas Houck, think of the big shots he made down the stretch. He was tremendous for Florida. That's going to be a really, really interesting matchup, especially now that Elijah Martin is healthy and can play in the game, because somehow Florida stepped up and was able to win in Neville without him. And I'm sure Auburn's going to be super motivated. They've only lost 4 games all year, so that's one of them. They get a chance. They thought they might see Florida in the SEC tournament championship game, which is what I had. Ended up being wrong because the Vols took them out and beat them 70-65. But now Auburn gets a chance to atone for some of that.
All right, 256-576-4977. You can join us here for a couple minutes, just kind of getting everybody caught up on everything that happened as far as the Elite Eight games go. And we have our Final Four set again. The last time that we've had all 4 number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament at the Final Four, well, the Final Four was hosted by San Antonio. That's the last time that we've had all 4 number 1 seeds. Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the exact same venue, exact same setup, all 4 number 1 seeds. So there you go.
Was that 2004?
It's either 4 or 8.
I believe it was. I was wondering because that was the year that Alabama made the Elite Eight. They lost to UConn. Then UConn went on and won the national championship. I mean, that UConn team was a runaway train under Jim Calhoun. But I was thinking that maybe, but I may be wrong. I was thinking that may have been the Final Four in San Antonio. But I was trying to
need to see where. So San Antonio hosted it in 2008.
Oh, okay. So
but
that wasn't the year.
I don't know if that was all 4 number 1s. I need to look. I'm pretty sure it had been.
It was, because I remember who won the 08 final.
Yeah, it was.
Because Kansas and Malcolm and Mario Chalmers made the big 3 to get them into overtime. They beat Memphis in the final. Yep. And Memphis, a lot of people had them as the favorite, and they would have won the game if they could shoot free throws. But death taxes and John Calipari's team's not able to shoot free throws. It's been his bugaboo throughout his career.
Kansas beat North Carolina in one semifinal.
Yeah.
Memphis beat UCLA in the other semifinal. And then Kansas in overtime, 75-68.
Yep.
I don't know if we can mention that game, because didn't the NCAA take away that Memphis appearance?
Well, it's because Derrick Rose, somebody named not Derrick Rose, took his ACT score.
Yeah.
At some location unknown.
So technically the game never was played.
Well, I guess that's the way the NCAA chooses to
I know
do it. But yeah, Derrick Rose was the number 1 player in the country that year. He was a freshman. It was his only year of college basketball. Yep. And after the fact, they figured out that Derrick Rose didn't take his ACT score. It's about like Brent Wright of Florida. When he was in the G League, when the G League started, and he had 2 cell phones, one to call people and one for his phone number. Yet he got into college somehow.
We got to get a break in.
I don't think he took his test either.
There's a lot of people that probably didn't take those tests.
Right.
I'm just saying, I've met a few of them, and you kind of scratch your head going, okay, yeah. Blake Lovell's going to join us on the other side. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a new wreck, 565 eastbound, right around county line. That one may have an injury. Pulaski Pike and Beaver Dam reported injury. 72 in Moores Mill, they've got an injury there. Got westbound 565 at Wall Triana. I don't think Madison ever found that one. 53 in Burwell still working with an injury. Got 67 in Pleasant Acres in Morgan County and 72 in Balch Road still working with an injury. RESPECT is coming. Shoal Scholar Dollars is bringing the celebration of the music of Aretha Franklin to UNA tonight. Tickets at shoalscholardollars.com. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
Are you trying to find a new house? Are you trying to find the right loan, the right people to do your loan? Look no further than the Bank of Frank Ewing in Hazel Green. John Kendall, the Vice President of Mortgage with me. John, when they need a loan, and I say they, when people need a loan, it's about them.
That's right, Scott. Our whole motto is it's all about you. We're going to be okay. You're the one making the investment. We want to make sure that you're taken care of.
How do they find you?
Give us a call at 256-507-9180, or they can catch us online at bankoffrankewing.com.
It's Bank of Frank Ewing in Hazel Green, where they take the home loan to you and they make it all about you. Bank of Frank Ewing in Hazel Green is an FDI insured bank, as well as an equal housing lender.
NMLS number 446707.
Rocket City, for air that's cool and clean, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Get HVAC smart with Professor Green and the expert team at sensagreen.com. Now offering up to $1,500 off any new Bryant system. Whatever it takes, Sensa Green has Huntsville covered. Remember, folks, with innovative, sensible green solutions, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
The Bass Pro Shops Red Crest Championship Outdoor Expo will be at the Von Braun Center April 4th, 5th, and 6th in conjunction with the MLF Red Crest Championship on Lake Gunnersville. The Outdoor Expo will be open from 11 to 6:30 daily, and the first 200 kids 14 and under on Saturday will receive a free Abu Garcia rod and reel, courtesy of WHNT News 19. There will be hourly giveaways, tackle and boat deals, seminars, and a chance to meet the pros. And it's free of charge. The Bass Pro Shops Red Crest Championship Outdoor Expo, April 4th through 6th at the BBC.
Never miss 1 second of Charger baseball with the Charger Zone.
And he is just absolutely parked one. I don't believe the left fielder or the center fielder for AUM even moved.
Only on 97.7 ESPN.com and the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app.
Right there. Only fitting because earlier this morning when we were sitting here in the studios, you could hear the thunder roll. I'm saying that's the name of the song. You could hear the thunder roll above us, and you could hear the rain hit the window right beside us. So a little stormy start to the day here on a Monday morning. It's Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. The Final Four is all set in San Antonio. You can enjoy the Riverwalk, some good Tex-Mex food, and some basketball starting on Saturday. The SEC, 50% of the field. I can do that math. Florida and Auburn are in. Duke and Houston will fill out the rest of the field.
Yeah, as we said, first time since 2008, all 4 number ones. That was also in San Antonio. We also had a classic Final Four with Kansas beating Memphis in overtime in the championship game. Will we have a classic this time? We're going to break it all down from an SEC perspective with Blake Lovell of Southeastern 16. He's been on top of this tournament since it started. We saw him in Nashville, where we saw the heavyweights, the Big Four, play in the semifinals and finals. Florida defeating Tennessee, and now Florida's in the Final Four. Auburn is, and we're going to ask Blake Lovell right now if this is the best run for any league ever. I've made my take on it. I think it's close. I think they got to win the national championship maybe to separate it. But I value Blake's opinion. That's why he's on the show right now. Blake, good morning.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. Blake, I think they've already set a record for wins. They had, they did a great job, getting 7 into the Sweet 16, which was a record. They could have had 6 in the Elite 8 very easily. They end up with 4. They end up with 2 in the Final Four. Have they already separated themselves as the best run ever, or do they have to win the national championship to solidify it in your mind?
I think they've separated themselves, but again, I understand that, it may be about just you got to win it all to sort of be at the top. But I think just as a whole, though, I think that is, I don't want to say maybe more important than winning the national championship, but I think when you just look at it, from top to bottom, I think you can sort of just make that argument. And I think, look, you may be able to separate it and just say, all right, it's the best league we've ever seen, but didn't have the national champion, if that's how it plays out. That may be still good enough, right? Just based on all the numbers we talked about all season. But yeah, to sit here and, have these two teams playing each other in the Final Four, and then obviously, going to go on to play the winner of Duke and Houston, two historic teams from a metric standpoint too. That just kind of shows you how strong this Final Four is. And so, at least, an SEC team we know is guaranteed to play for it. And maybe that's about as good as you can ask for in this season.
Yeah, it comes down to Florida or Auburn. You got to make a case. You can make a case for both teams, Florida and Auburn. But I think right now, going into the Final Four, especially with Janai Broome kind of being banged up a little bit, you probably can make a better case for Florida to win it right now over Auburn.
Well, I'm not surprised that they're the favorites. I do think, though, there are a couple things to look at here to me with Florida. You need a little survive in advance, luck sometimes to make it through the NCAA tournament. But, let's call it what it is. Florida had 2 of their 4 games that were very sort of low probability chances for Florida to win those games, and they managed to win them. They beat UConn having missed 12 free throws. They win by 2. Kind of had to do what they did in that game to find a way to win it. They were down 6 midway through the second half. The Texas Tech game, I think Florida had what was the number I saw? It was like 6.7% probability chance to win with, I don't know what it was, 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left, something like that. And they managed to have sort of that, 1 in however many, 6 or 7 chances out of 100 to come back and actually win that game. And so I think there is something to the idea that, listen, Auburn feels like they've maybe turned a corner a little bit, from all the stuff we were talking about coming into the tournament, even after that first game, when you got Stephen Pearl saying what he said, Dylan Cardwell wasn't happy. I feel like Auburn has maybe closed that gap a bit more. Now, the biggest thing is what you said, Scott. It's going to be Janai Broome and kind of his full availability, what percentage is he playing at, and all that kind of stuff. I think, again, that's why Florida's the favorite right now for most people. But I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn, maybe, just from my standpoint, as I kind of break this game down heading into Saturday, maybe keeps closing that gap a little bit. Because I do think there are some things with Florida that have stood out in both the UConn and Texas Tech games that can make you say, all right, well, maybe that's a team that certainly just benefited from 2 hot runs. But then again, Florida's been doing this for how long now? So.
Yeah, and then my point this morning was that you have to remember, too, Florida won in Neville Arena, and I didn't expect this. I remember picking on the show, Scott asked me, he's like, can Florida win in Neville? I didn't think so. I thought Auburn was going to win that game. And then they did it without Elijah Martin, who is their second best player.
Yeah, and, we were talking about just kind of looking at that game last night right after we knew the matchups, and I think one of the things that stood out from the last time that these two teams play, and this is where, it would have to be dramatically different for Auburn, was that sometimes when you look at these games, you think, all right, there was just some kind of outlier that allowed Florida to go in and win, right? Because, whether it was like the Kentucky-Tennessee scenario we talked about, well, Kentucky just shot way above what anyone shoots against Tennessee, and that was the deciding factor in those first 2 games. Well, I went back last night and looked at it, and I'm like, Florida beat Auburn by doing what Florida does well. Like, they didn't do anything different, right? They just went out and they did what they do well. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's not like there's anything we can say, well, that was just a drastic difference than what we're seeing from Florida, and that's why they won that game. No, they did all the things they do well. They shot the ball at a high percentage. They got a lot of offensive rebounds. They sort of, I think took it to Auburn from a physicality standpoint. And, like, those are the things, again, that have gotten Florida to this point. So that is the one thing where, if I want to take back what I said a minute ago about closing the gap, I mean, Auburn's got to close that gap considerably, because that was such a huge difference in the game as Florida just kept hitting shot after shot after shot. And, again, I thought Florida was the more physical team. So I think that's something that's definitely going to stand out in this game as we go into it. And, again, I think it's really all about Broome and his, sort of percentage of whatever he is heading into that game. We know he's going to play, but I think it's kind of, we know how much of an impact he has. And when you look at that Florida front court, yeah, man, that's just, that's one of the best groups in the country at any position.
So the other side of the bracket sees Houston and Duke face off against each other. Houston got there by knocking off Tennessee yesterday. Blake, how shocked were you, especially seeing Tennessee score just 15 first half points yesterday in that matchup with Houston?
Yeah, I shouldn't be shocked. I probably was initially, just because, I'm like, oh, come on. I thought this was the kind of matchup Tennessee wanted, right? They needed a team like this that, somewhat of a similar style to them and all that. Like, I just thought it was a better setup than it would have been, against maybe a high octane offensive team. But then again, I look at it and I'm like, did we have really been that surprised? I mean, Tennessee was sort of due one of these stretches where they don't score. And that's the one thing we brought up all year with them, is just as well as they're playing at any time, you always know there is that chance that they could go 5 minutes without scoring. And, again, I should have known that it would come against the number one defensive team in the country, against Houston. And you could tell right off the bat. I mean, we talk about games that are decided in the first, 8 minutes. I mean, this game was decided in the first 5 minutes. Like, it just immediately you could tell that Houston came out as the aggressor. Tennessee was not getting the shots they wanted. They were going to have to force everything. And again, we could tell that right from the jump. And I think once you saw it play out that way, even though Tennessee tried to make a couple, rallies late, when you're down 10 to Houston, you may as well be down 20. Like, that's just the way it works for them. And so, a very disappointing finish, I think, for the Vols, especially knowing that the one thing that people have kind of picked on Rick Barnes for kind of reared its ugly head a bit in that game. But that's the way it works when you're playing this Houston team. And it's why we keep saying this is the best Final Four we've ever seen from an advanced metric, data type standpoint, just based on how good all four of these teams are.
And we're talking to Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16, and you just put it so succinctly. I was going to ask you about I know you're an analytics guy, that this is the best Final Four from a Ken Palm era we've ever seen. And I know it's not an SEC matchup, but break down the Duke Houston matchup for me. We know Duke ended Alabama's great run. I put this on my X account. I posted this right after the game. I saw two teams definitively that were better than Alabama this year. It was the Florida Gators, who beat them twice, and then Duke. I wanted to see Duke. I'd watched Duke, but I wanted to see them against Alabama before I made that decision. And certainly Duke is as good on both ends of the floor as any team I've seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I said going to the tournament, I picked them to win it all. I think Duke's just on a different level than everybody else. I feel like they are just the clear number one team. And, I think that still holds in my mind. I still think they're the number one team. They're the team to beat in this. Really, I think what it comes down to, though, is, we know, and I've said it all the time, I think Kelvin Sampson, he might be the best in the country when it comes to just the actual game planning and execution of the game plan. And I think that's why it's so fascinating to me to know that he has, 5 days to sit here and prepare for this Duke team, a team that you don't see very often in college basketball. And so I'm very curious to see kind of how, from a defensive standpoint, he approaches this, because, there is something he can look back at, right? He can look at that Clemson game, I think, and sit there and say, all right, what are some of the things that a team like Clemson, a very defensive-minded team, obviously not on the same level as Houston, but what are some of the things they did well? in that game. And you go back and look at it, Duke still shot 50% from three. They didn't turn it over very much, but those shots inside the arc were a lot tougher. And I think that's where, when you look at what Houston is able to do defensively, I want to see kind of how they're able to go in and defend them, because they are so good at not allowing you to get shots anywhere. But really, it's inside that perimeter and the things they can do to really force you into making mistakes and also taking bad shots. And let's talk about this too. Like, it's the experience factor. And I think when you've got all these old guys on Houston, and I know a lot of teams this year have been more experienced than Duke because they're playing star freshmen, but I think that's what I'm most curious about. But it's like, it's going to take me a long time to try to figure out exactly how I think Houston beats Duke. Whereas, I don't know if it's the same way with Duke. I could just sit here and say, listen, they're just going to do what they've been doing. And even though this game, I think maybe tempo wise plays more in Houston's favor, how do you pick against Duke at this point?
Yeah. So Duke and Florida in those finals.
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably go back and forth more on Auburn and Florida than I am Duke and Houston. I just think that, again, I think there are some reasons to believe that Auburn has a better shot than some people maybe think, just because I do think there are some things from that first matchup they can take away. And again, I don't necessarily think Florida has played their best basketball to this point over the past 2 weeks necessarily. Even that first half against Maryland, I still think it's one where Florida has just had, sort of that streaky type play. And I don't know if you can get away with that against Auburn. And so right now, though, I'd probably stick with Florida. But hey, I might change my mind by the end of the week. So.
And now finally, we have one major job open. It was kind of the worst kept secret ever with Kevin Willard going to Villanova and leaving Maryland. I've heard a couple of SEC coaches mentioned as candidates for the job, Chris Beard and Buzz Williams. But there is a good chance still that the SEC, with as good a year as they've ever had, could return their coaching roster in its totality. Your thoughts on the SEC going into next year? They've certainly set a new standard, but with all the money that's been put into this league, with all the commitment to NIL, to facilities, to resources, your thoughts heading into next year with the Final Four coming up?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think, because like you said, there could be some coaching changes and all that kind of stuff that we could see sort of play into it, like whether it's Buzz Williams going to Maryland or something like that. I mean, I think that, gets a little bit more interesting, but I just think, the league is about as set up as well as you could be, right? And I think what it's really going to come down to is maybe not even just what the SEC does. It's what everyone else does. And we already know what's happening. Like, we know that the ACC, the Big East, and all these other conferences have looked up this season and said, we know what we have to do. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see. And we're already seeing it in some instances in the transfer portal and all that. And so I don't expect the SEC to get 14 teams in the tournament next year. I don't expect the SEC to be the runaway, number one conference in the country next year. But just as long as you keep kind of having the same sort of foundation in place, there's always going to be that chance, right? And so I just think that's probably the way you look at it. I mean, this is for any metric we look at, this is a season that I don't know that any other conference is going to replicate maybe ever again. When you just think about the non-conference record, when you think about getting this many teams in and all that kind of stuff, I just, unless the tournament expands, I just don't see it happening. And so you kind of have to set this season aside and realize that, hey, we've got a pretty good coaching foundation. You may have a couple guys jump here or there. But man, I think overall the SEC is set up for success for many years to come, just based on, all the NIL and factors and resources. So.
Well, great stuff, Blake.
Yeah. Let everybody know how to follow your coverage of the Final Four and the wrap up of college football season. But then of course y'all have the portal and certainly coaching news and everything to talk about. It never stops.
Yeah, it never stops. Southeastern 16 on YouTube. Yeah, we'll obviously have our previews for both Final Four games this week. I know Duke Houston's not an SEC, but we're going to do that one anyways, just to give the SEC winner on the other side a shot at looking at their future opponent. So yeah, you can find it all there, and then we'll have hundreds of transfer videos, I feel like, this summer. So yeah, find us there, Southeastern 16 on YouTube.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, guys.
Got to get a break in. Wrap up hour one next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck on 565 westbound just before the Parkway. It's a no injury, but HPD's got that number 4 lane partially blocked off there. Got a wreck northbound to eastbound I-65 at 565. Got 231 in Meridianville Bottom that may have an injury. We got 565 eastbound at County Line. That one reported as a no injury. Pulaski Pike and Beaver Dam had somebody hurt. 72 and Moore's Mill also had somebody hurt. And we got fire units going to the 600 block of Harold's Drive. Had lightning strike a house there. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
We aren't a winning school. We are a championship school, and we make legends. Filling the Crimson Tide as they look to continue to rise to the top of the NCAA basketball mountain. On your home for Alabama basketball.
Listen to Alabama basketball all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
All right, welcome back. Wrapping up hour one of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond.
The Yankees wouldn't cheat, would they?
Yes.
Of course they would.
Well, the Atlanta Braves need to find some ways to get some cheating done.
Yeah, they stink right now. 0-4, got eviscerated by the Padres. I think they've gone 22 innings plus without scoring. They had one measly hit yesterday. I'll just quote my old high school basketball coach, Rich Valovich. A dead man could give me that, basically. He could pretty much get one hit. I mean, that's pathetic. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Padres have one of the top 4 payrolls in baseball.
No, they do. They do.
They should have a playoff team and a good team, but it was disappointing to see the Braves come out in an 0-4 hole.
Doesn't get any easier for Atlanta.
No. They play the biggest payroll in the history of mankind, the Los Angeles.
Come on.
Yeah. This is not XM radio. I can't say what I want to say.
The Money Kings. Yeah. Braves and Dodgers tonight, 9:10. Your first pitch. The Atlanta Braves going to send Grant Holmes to the mound. Grant Holmes making
down.
He's making his season debut for the Braves. Los Angeles Dodgers will counter with Tyler Glasnow. He also making his season debut for the Dodgers. So there you go. Braves 0-4
again.
Dodgers 5-0.
Of course they are, because I knew they beat the Cubs twice. I didn't keep up with how they did in their first 3-game series, but they're 5-0, of course. So is this a 3-game series?
I don't know. There's plenty of baseball left to be played. Look,
I've already been told they'll probably be 0-7 after this.
Look, the Atlanta Braves are only 3 games back of the Miami Marlins.
Wow, the Miami Marlins. At least the Mets didn't start well.
And the Phillies. The Mets are 1-2. So the Mets, the Nationals, and the Braves are all below 500. Folks, there's so much baseball to be played.
There
it's not even
left to
funny
be played,
to even.
but,
I mean, you look at these. Yeah, there's a lot left.
I'm not going to mince words. It was a complete utter F the first weekend. I mean, it was terrible. So, I mean, hopefully they'll get it going, but it was not good. You know, hurry up, Ronald. They need you back.
Yeah, the Braves in those 4 games outscored 17-7.
Yeah, the last 2 games they didn't score a run. So, nice job.
Like we said, there's so much baseball to be played that it's
well, it was a good weekend for Alabama. They did beat Oklahoma 2 out of 3, a couple 8-6 wins. They lost 6-5. Tough weekend for Auburn. They ended up getting swept by a red hot Georgia team that's 28-2 under Wes Johnson. They are right now. They may be the best team in the SEC, and that's saying a lot.
There was some angst, though, in SEC baseball yesterday. Fill you in, plus college football next.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. AI-powered betting models to help you make sharper picks during March Madness. Free 7-day trial available now at rhythm.com. That's RITHMM.com.
The Duke Blue Devils are the betting favorite to win the national championship at plus 105 with plus 275. Florida right behind them. Houston at plus 450. The Auburn Tigers plus 500. On Sunday, Auburn beat Michigan State 70-64 to advance. Houston over Tennessee 69-50. Final 4 action in San Antonio on Saturday. Florida faces Auburn. The Gators by 2.5. Duke by 4.5 against Houston. The Atlanta Braves got shut out 5-0 against the Padres on Sunday. The Braves are 0-4 as they start a series against the Dodgers tonight. LA 5-0 to start the season. Atlanta plus 165. The Dodgers minus 200. I'm Chuck Sanders on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This hour brought to you by SportsMed Orthopedic and Spine Center. Online at sportsmedalabama.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back in. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 is upon us on a Monday morning. SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center. They've put the ball on the tee for us in hour number 2. They've letting us get started. 256-881-5151 to experience the SportsMed difference. SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center. You can find them at sportsmedalabama.com. College football news and note real fast. Did you see that the College Football Oversight Committee, not the NCAA, but the College Football Oversight Committee has told Colorado and Syracuse that they cannot have their joint spring game.
Not surprised.
They're going to turn it down. And the reasons why. The reasons why they cannot do it is because, number one, the timing of the request, noting that most institutions have already planned their spring practice periods or at the end of or have completed, and so it would put the other programs at an unfair advantage. Number two, it would give Colorado and Syracuse an unfair recruiting advantage because Colorado could host recruits during this joint venture. And number three, the kids would miss too much classroom time, so you can't do it.
Yeah, classroom time. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. I mean, like they even go to class half the time anyway with everything being virtual. Give me a damn break. I mean, they always say something stupid. But again, with it being a late request, I'm not surprised.
Right.
They want this to be planned out a year in advance before they're going to do it. I didn't think they would approve it. I mean, eventually we may have something like this, or we may have what Hugh Freeze talked about the other day, which was OTAs in June, and maybe even have a situation where you could scrimmage someone from another school. It wouldn't surprise me if none of that was televised, though. You know how, look, we already have it in college basketball. Think about it. Secret scrimmages, you hear about them all the time. Oh, well, Alabama secretly scrimmaged TCU, or, Alabama. This is when I knew Avery Johnson had no chance, and he might as well just pack up his stuff and move on. Lost by 30 to Jacksonville State in the scrimmage.
Right.
And when I saw that phantom box score, I was like, wow, Avery's such a nice guy, but he can't coach his way out of a sandbox. He's out of here. And so you can't have your team at the University of Alabama. And Jack State, Ray Harper's done a great job, but he's still coaching the team then. You can't get run off your home court by 30 by Jack State. If that's happening, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and it's time to hit the bricks. And so I knew pretty much it was coming to an end for Avery.
All right, so speaking of coming to an end, we're down to the final four teams in college basketball. That means there's a lot of programs that are not playing right now. We touched a little bit on it leading into the fact that Duke has made it to the Final Four. You look back at it, Alabama's run, obviously that they ran into a phenomenal team in Duke. Cooper Flagg is a generational talent on the college level. He's every bit as good, I think, as advertised right now. But we take a step back and we look at Alabama's run as a whole from 10,000 feet. I know a lot of Alabama fans are hitting the panic button because of the results and the expectations and everything, which is good, by the way, because Alabama basketball is, for years it was, well, we'll just, hopefully we'll get there. But the expectations are now to get there. And so they're hitting the panic button a little bit.
Well, I think most are not. I think there's a few millennials that, they wouldn't know Robert Ory from Robert Griffin. And they may have only seen him on YouTube and they know he won a bunch of championships, but and then that's when those are the kind of people when you tell them that at one time in the early 90s to mid 90s, Alabama and North Carolina had they had the most active NBA players. They'll look at you like you got three heads. But I think the majority of Alabama fans, especially the ones that have been around the program for a long time, understand that this team maxed out. I mean, Nate Oates did a great job. They never had their complete roster together for really ever because, again, Latrell Wrightsell went down in November when they were in Vegas. They didn't have young blood at that time. They didn't get young blood till December the 15th, around mid-December. Then Houston Millette was never really healthy. They decided to shut him down. And quite frankly, Mark Sear is one of the greatest players in Alabama history on that, Mount Rushmore. And he's a great three-point shooter. But two of your three best three-point shooters on the team didn't even play. And you could even say the two best ones. And that's Houston Millette. When you saw, and I certainly did in Huntsville, the way he shot the ball from the three-point line in his limited action. And then Latrell Wrightsell, we know he was the best three-point shooter on the team a year ago. So you didn't have either one of those guys. And so this was a roster that wasn't complete. You had Sears get banged up some during the year. You had Grant Nelson banged up. Grant gutted it out. He's one of the all-time warriors in Alabama history. This team maxed out. They played the toughest schedule probably in college basketball history. They ended up playing everybody that's in the Final Four. Okay, they played them all. They went 2-4 against them. And then there was only 2 teams that definitively were better than Alabama. They went 0-3 against Florida and Duke. And I still think that's the 2 best teams. That's the 2 teams I have planned for the national championship. And so there's nothing wrong with that. They went 28-9. They were one of the 8 best teams in the country easily, but I think it was really more like top 5, top 6, in my opinion. And because you got to have Tennessee mentioned in that conversation, certainly Tennessee beat Alabama head-to-head. They were very fortunate to do that, but they did it. But I just think this Alabama team was outstanding. I know they didn't win an SEC regular season title or a tournament title, any kind of titles. But if you watch Alabama play and their personnel, they were elite. They were a really good basketball team. That's why they call it the Elite Eight. They were one of those teams. They just didn't reach the Final Four, and reaching Elite Eights is very hard. Alabama's done it twice now in their 3 times in their history, and 2 times in a row, first time ever. And it's hard to reach the Elite Eight and even harder to reach the Final Four and even tougher to win a national title. So I think Alabama lived up to expectations, especially when you consider the journey. And certainly I got to give Auburn a lot of credit because I knew Auburn would be good coming into the year. Wasn't sure they'd be Final Four good, but certainly by mid to late November, you thought they had a chance to do that. They stayed healthy enough. They fought through some things, and now they've gotten to the promised land for the second time in 6 years. Kudos to Bruce Pearl and Auburn, and I certainly had them in the Final Four.
Now comes the hard part for Alabama. Now comes the hard part, and Auburn will experience this when their run is done. Same way with Florida.
Yeah.
And that is putting pieces on a roster to get back next year. I mean, the ever-changing landscape of college athletics and college basketball is that, used to be you could sit your roster and say, well, we got 2 juniors, we got 3 sophomores and a freshman. We're going to be pretty good next year because all of these faces are coming back. Now comes the hard part of putting a roster together and blending it so that it's successful for next year. That's the hard part now.
Yeah, and then you have to every year pretty much not start from scratch, but you got to keep re-recruiting your own players.
Yes.
And then I think we have figured out that Chad Baker-Mazara has a chance to come back. The question is, does Denver Jones, does he want to return? That would be 2 big-time pieces. Of course, they want to build around Tahad Pettiford. They've already got an outstanding junior college prospect committed. And then you have to replace Dylan Cardwell and Joe Nye.
Yes.
Joe Nye.
By the way, this should
Tom's other brother, Daryl, led off the press conference.
Yeah. No, you're shaking your head. And he did. So there was a guy yesterday in Atlanta, the very first question. Or maybe
his long-lost neighborhood friend.
The very first question to deny Broom yesterday, the reporter said, and I quote, Johnny, you went out there, and there was a pause in the press conference, and Janai just looked up and went, Janai?
Yeah, Janai. And he said, I'm sorry.
So somebody at the press conference yesterday called Janai Broom Johnny.
Yeah. Well, and then just look at Nathan King's X account. He took a picture, a photo of that, and put that out there just to prove it on the because
I played it for Drew during the commercial break.
On the transcript, they hung the guy out to dry, and they said Johnny.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes it just takes one person to say Johnny, and then it changes the world.
Yeah. Well, you can tell these people have never covered Auburn. That's all I can say that. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go to the phone lines. Brandon is with us. Morning, Brandon.
What's up, Brandon?
Oh, been a rough last 10 days.
Yes, sir, man. Prayers to you.
Saturday, I got to watch the Alabama wheelchair women win the national championship for the 5th straight time.
Yeah.
And if it had not been for the COVID year, it might have been the 7th straight time.
Yeah.
And
tremendous.
because it was on live stream, I got to see something that most people don't see. If you have never seen a woman without functioning legs crawl herself up a ladder with just her arms to cut down the nets,
wow,
then you've never seen a real championship moment.
Yeah,
And
they're
it was
a
glorious.
dynasty, man. They're a machine. There's no question about that.
They said that the team that they played in that final,
Mhm.
they had played them 10 times this year
Oh wow.
because there's so few teams. They went 7-3 against them.
Hmm.
So we talk about playing teams 3 times in a season. Imagine playing somebody 10 times in a season.
Yeah.
You know they'd be ready for you. And what was really funny about that game was there was more people at that game than there was live and in person watching Nova win the D2 national championship.
Yeah, that one made me sick. Nova wins it all. That's a tough one.
How in the world do you have a D2 national championship in such a bad location that you can't even get 100 people in the building?
Well, I will say this, and Scott can confirm this. I know at one point when Lenny Acup was coaching, it was in Louisville. But it just seems like every time I've watched the finals, it doesn't seem like
They've moved it around.
Right.
That used to be Massachusetts up there at the college.
Springfield. Yeah.
University of Northern Kentucky, right on the edge there, right on the edge of the waters there between Cincinnati and Kentucky, right on the border there. It had been there for several years. Now it's in Evansville. And I mean, the arena for Evansville is top notch. And I mean, it is. It's a great venue for college basketball. It's a great venue. I think what it is, Brandon, though, you had one team from Florida and you had one team from California in the finals. And Division II, you're going to get family members that come to the games, but it's hard for fan bases to travel Division II wise just because your fan bases are not near as big as Division I fan bases. And so, if UAH was fortunate enough to get to Evansville, would have looked a little bit different because it was a 4-hour drive, easy. But to go from Fort Lauderdale to Evansville, that's a hard one. And I think it was Cal something Dominguez in the finals.
Yep. Yeah, there's a California Dominguez.
Yeah, you're not going to fly a lot into Evansville. So, I mean, I think it was just the draw of the championship game, the location, which set that attendance, down.
I don't doubt that Evansville is a nice place, but to me, you've got to keep this somewhat near major airports because to get into Evansville, where do you got to go to, and then how far do you got to drive after that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
And that's the thing is nobody can even you're from up around that area and you don't even know. So I felt like they're setting themselves up. You ought to be able to get triple digit fans for a D2 national championship. I mean, at Georgia Highlands College over here in Rome, Georgia, a couple years back when they made a pretty deep run in, what was that, like D3A, B, or whatever they're in.
Yeah.
I mean, there was 600 people there. At that little old school in a town of 80,000, there were people showing up. There was nowhere to sit. And even when they played out of town, they probably had 200 people go with them. And I just felt bad for those guys. I mean, you get to a national championship and you're basically in an empty building.
So starting next year, Indianapolis is going to host the 2026 Division II tournament. They're also going to host the Division III tournament as well. It's going to begin a stretch where Indianapolis is going to host the Final Four, the NIT semifinals, the final Division II, and the Division III next year. So Indianapolis is going to host the Final Four, the NIT semifinals, the Division II championship, the Division I championship, and the Division III championships all in the same weekend. That'll be next year for Indianapolis.
There'll be a lot of cold people.
It might be warm. It'll be warmer up there now. I mean, when I was 2 weeks ago when I was up there, man, it was record highs, but I mean, it was still beautiful.
Record high, what, 26?
No, it was like 68 degrees.
Wow.
It was beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Downtown Indianapolis, I tell you what, when it's beautiful, it's It was a heck of a walk. The canal area and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was
Did you go to the Slippery Needle?
fantastic. Didn't venture down that far.
Oh, okay.
I was up on the northern end.
Gotcha.
But I could have walked down.
All I know from Indiana is I walked from Hardee's to Lucas Oil, which is not that far. And when I got there, I was just proud to be alive.
Yeah, well, I walked from the Slippery Noodle to Lucas Oil, and I was just proud to be able to move by that point.
All right, Brandon, thanks for the phone call, bud.
Roll Tide.
All right, let's get Jeff in real fast. Good morning, Jeff.
What's up, Jeff? Hello. What's up, man?
Guys.
Hey, man. Yep. Morning.
I just want to say, he was talking about the Division 2 that they're going to start doing it every year at the side of the Final Four. Like
Yep.
You guys did.
Yeah.
Like you got Division 1 and Division. I know they're doing all the other ones, but that other Division 2 they're going to do.
Yeah,
They
next
should
year in Indianapolis, that was the one that I looked at. And Dylan Harding texted in as well. Dylan Harding, former UAH coach, player and stuff. And he just let us know that too, that every year they're going to be doing. That's a smart move by the NCAA. That's a smart move.
It's great, man. It's a great move.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't. A lot more tennis, but everything. But as far as that goes, if they get beaten, they wouldn't have beat Houston either. They lost Houston, so I mean they would have had a chance, but they didn't play. They got beat on the boards and couldn't make shots. It's like Tennessee couldn't do Sunday. And so as far as I'm concerned, yeah, Tennessee beat Kentucky, but baby, you still didn't go to the Final Four. I don't care what you done. You jumped down as you fit, didn't you? When you beat Kentucky, but you still couldn't beat Houston. They just scored 15, the lowest amount for a 1 or 2 seed in NCAA history. In the first half, 15 points. So I said they couldn't shoot Kelsey's, whether it's Kelsey's Creek or Kelsey's Ocean, couldn't hit nothing.
Yep.
So I mean,
Tennessee now is tied with Xavier for 31 wins all time in the NCAA tournament, but no Final Fours. That's the most wins by any program to not have made the Final Four.
Because one of Tennessee's clown beat writers, Mike Wilson, and there's some good guys. We love Vince Farrar. We love Jimmy Himes, even though he's semi-retired. But we certainly love Ryan Callahan. We've had Wes Rucker. I mean, they've all done a great job. But Mike Wilson said that he had to point out that Mark Sears finished his career 0-4 against Tennessee. I had to point out that Zakai Ziegler has never ever played in the Final Four, and neither has Tennessee.
When you got regular season Rick, that's what you got, and that's what they got, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it up here. They don't want to admit it. I told you guys you can have him all you want to. You can have him for a lifetime contract. They're 0-3 now in the Elite Eight, so you can have them. And as far as the Final Four goes, 85 was the greatest one. 3 from the Big East. There's 85 at Rupp Arena. Georgetown, Villanova, the biggest upset in history. Villanova shot 85% and beat Georgetown, defending champs. That's the greatest Final Four, greatest conference run ever. Was those 3: Georgetown, Villanova, and St. John. Period. End of story. SEC, no. Period. See you. Have a good one.
Well, I mean, greatest. You could say it's
You
the greatest.
said that in the beginning. You said that in the beginning that the Big East was the greatest.
But this is the best 3-week run for a league potentially if the SEC could win it ever, especially if they were to beat a team the caliber of Duke.
Yes,
because that Georgetown team, as Jeff was pointing out, was a huge favorite. They had already beaten Villanova twice. They had dominated college basketball, and they were trying to win back-to-back NCAA championships. Don't forget, John Thompson's only title was in '84. And so they were trying to win it in '85, but they couldn't do it. Villanova beat them with Ed Pinckney and all those guys and that great group from Villanova. It was Rolly Massimino's only championship. I mean, but national championships are hard to win. That's why
getting to Elite Eights are hard.
Well, that's what I've tried to tell
Final
fans.
Fours are hard.
I mean, when they try to say teams are a failure if they don't make the Final Four, it's very difficult to do, and it's very difficult to win national championships. Jim Boeheim, as many games as he won 1 national championship.
Look how good Tom Izzo has been.
Yeah, and he's won 1. And then Jay Wright won 2. It's just winning multiples is even harder. Dan Hurley's already done that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you kind of separate yourself. But John Calipari's only won 1. He's had a chance to win it at 3 different places. And now we'll see what he can do at Arkansas. But it's very, very difficult. And what Nate Oates has done in 6 years in Tuscaloosa, I mean, Alabama had not been a factor in the NCAA tournament since the early 90s, really. I mean, Coach Mark Gottfried had a 5-year run and went to 1 Elite Eight, but that was once. But I'm just talking about consistently.
Right.
And now you can say Nate Oates has done it consistently. 4 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite Eights, and a Final Four. That means you're used to advancing in March. And so when you don't make back-to-back Final Fours, that's nothing to get upset about. I mean, that's what makes it even more remarkable for a guy like Christian Laettner, who, when he played at Duke from 89 to 92. Okay.
Right.
He went to 4 straight Final Fours. That's nearly impossible to do. And then he won back-to-back national championships. Had to mention that before we went to break so Jeff could remember that.
Let's get a break in. Oh, I love it. Let's get a break in. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
72 in Moore's Mill working that one, reported an injury. Got northbound to eastbound, 65 and 565. 231 in Meridianville Bottom reported with an injury. Had Pulaski Pike and Beaver Dam as an injury type. 565 westbound at Wall Triana. I don't think they ever found that one. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. You can make it safer for them. Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Forgiveness. Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
Flying nonstop from Huntsville is a breeze on Breeze Airways. They're nice people flying nice people to nice places on really nice planes. Let's be direct. Nonstop from Huntsville to the places you want to go. Las Vegas, Orlando, or Tampa starting at $49. It's time for a weekend getaway or a long overdue week away. Time to check in using the convenient Breeze app and check out. What are you waiting for? Book today at flybreeze.com. That's flybreeze.com. Breeze Airways. Seriously nice.
We are your home for March Madness.
He throws a baseball for the bar. Break line. It's one for the basket.
We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I don't know how this whole business started. If you think
I don't know what the hell this is.
I've heard this one before.
Been a minute.
It's been a long time.
Freddie Kirby probably knows. He's probably going to text me here in a second.
Who's this one?
Ambrosia.
Okay.
This is like my old middle school dance, like early 7th grade middle school dance.
I never had this in my middle school. Or even any kind of middle school function.
I don't know. It's
maybe when I was in kindergarten. Hell, I don't know.
Do you even have dances in kindergarten?
No, this little riff here I've heard before. I didn't know what the hell. Okay.
So you had little kindergarten dances?
I don't know. I'm just saying this dang song.
I could just see kindergartners going through dances.
No, I'm just saying maybe at some party. Even at a skate party, they wouldn't have played this. They'd have played Van Halen Jump or something.
Well, they would have turned the lights down low at the skate party.
Oh my goodness!
Grab that someone you love.
No, what is there's only like one of those left in Huntsville or something?
Yeah, I think it's right behind it. It's like literally right across the parkway from us now. And apparently it's jammed packed on Fridays and Saturday nights. Like it is really? Standing room only at the skate rink. Yes, it's literally across the parkway here on Arcadia Circle.
Because Carousel's been gone.
Yeah. I mean, it is jamming apparently on Friday nights.
Wow. Crazy, man.
I don't know the last time that I have been to a skate rink.
For me, it was middle school, but I mean, you know how it is.
I don't know. I mean, I would have said I think Landon was invited to a few parties back when he was in middle school or elementary. I'm going to say elementary school. Right. There was a couple. There was one out in Hampton Cove that actually had laser tag. It was a skating rink and a laser tag combination type of thing.
Yeah,
it's long since been demolished. It's gone. But
I can remember when laser tag was a thing. Really expensive.
Laser tag was cool.
I'm talking about if you bought it, like if somebody bought it for you.
That was cool.
It was highfalutin. But speaking, that's a good segue though. Congratulations to Landon this weekend.
Yes,
by the way,
I tell you what, that so of all the meets, normally his track meets are on TV or they're live streamed and we can watch them. This one was not, so we had to wait for it to get done. So we were looking at the live stats, and he was in the fastest heat this weekend. He was running in the Pacific Open. And it was basically he and about 6 other guys from Portland University. Portland is a Division I university. And Landon goes out, wins the heat. Not only wins the heat, but runs a personal best in the 800, sets a meet record in the 800. And fantastic, unbelievable. He is now on he made the travel team roster for Western Oregon. And he is flying out this weekend, and he will go to this. He's running down at the Stanford Invitational this weekend down there in San Francisco. So he is beyond excited. So it was a fantastic weekend for us.
And
for him, I should say. It was a proud parent weekend, but a fantastic weekend for him. Who do we got?
Bryce.
Bryce. Let's get Bryce in real fast. Good morning,
Bryce. How are you?
Hey, guys. I don't know if y'all saw the same thing I saw over the weekend. After seeing Duke play, I hadn't seen them play before.
Right.
And Florida, I didn't see them play too many times. Everybody else is playing for third place. That's all I can tell you.
I think that's the two best teams, but like Blake Lovell said, we'll see what Auburn can game plan for against the Gators. And Houston as well, because Kelvin Sampson's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've seen everybody else play. But Florida just finds a way to win, and Duke was way better. I hadn't seen them play all year, and I didn't think they were that good because that week league they played in. But boy, they made a believer out of me. I was wrong about them.
Yeah, they're outstanding.
My personal opinion, I think everybody's playing for third place, other than them two.
Gotcha.
You know, and that's going to be the final game. But I had no idea they were that much better than us when I seen them play.
Right.
You know, because like I said, they played in that weak league. You know, I didn't know what to expect, but I believe they made a believer out of me.
Yes, sir.
So, what do y'all think?
Yeah, that's been our thought as well. Yep. I in my original bracket, I had Florida and Duke in the finals, and I'm not changing my mind.
All right, Bryce, I hate to do it to you, bud, but we got to get you a move on. We have got the new head coach from McNeese State getting ready to join us. Bill Armstrong going to join us on the other side. Just named head coach at McNeese going to join us on the conversation.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
72 in Moore's Mill working that one, reported an injury. Got northbound to eastbound, 65 and 565. 231 in Meridianville Bottom reported with an injury. Had Pulaski Pike and Beaver Dam as an injury type. 565 westbound at Wall Triana. I don't think they ever found that one. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. You can make it safer for them. Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Rocket City, for air that's cool and clean, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Get HVAC smart with Professor Green and the expert team at sensagreen.com. Now offering up to $1,500 off any new Bryant system. Whatever it takes, Sensa Green has Huntsville covered. Remember, folks, with innovative, sensible green solutions, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
Gunner's Landing is one of the Tennessee Valley's finest golf experiences. Just 35 minutes from downtown Huntsville, Gunner's Landing's 18-hole championship jewel is open to the public 7 days a week. Located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Gunner's Landing offers you a golf experience like no other. With beautiful Lake Gunnersville views throughout the round, Gunner's Landing is golf the way nature intended. Gunner's Landing's club repair shop offers a full range of services, including re-gripping and adjusting the lofts and lies of your clubs, even putters. Since the work is done in-house, your clubs will be returned to you in a timely manner. Unmatched in the North Alabama area, it is Gunner's Landing. Schedule your tee time today at gunnerslandings.com. That's gunnerslandings.com.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Have you discovered Good Company Cafe? The place for breakfast, brunch, lunch, and so much more. Enjoy brunch all day and pair with one of our many seasonal refreshing drinks, including alcoholic and non-alcoholic options. Choose inside or outside on our gorgeous, spacious, dog-friendly patio. And have some fun with friends playing yard games in the courtyard. See catering, to-go options, and lots more at goodcompany-cafe.com. Good Company Cafe, 7500 South Memorial Parkway.
Online at 977ESPN.com.
Stream them online.
Call in.
It's an important job, and it's an fighting organization.
Tweet in and join in. We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The coaching carousel has opened up vacancies all across the country. Will Wade departs McNeese, heads to NC State. That leaves the McNeese job open. And McNeese wasting little time to fill it as Bill Armstrong was named the 13th head coach in school history the other day to replace Will Wade, who really helped elevate that program in his short tenure there.
Yeah, we are blessed in our community to be very close with the Stapler family. We know Scott Stapler and Bill Armstrong go back many, many years to Birmingham Southern. Bill Armstrong is a UAB grad, played there. Before that, was a great player for the Aniana Redskins. And then, as we know, started his coaching career as a GA at UAB before going to on the junior college level for a very short time at Chipola, then going to, of course, to Birmingham Southern, and then working his way up for over a decade, working for Andy Kennedy at Ole Miss and turning that program into one of the best in the SEC. Will Wade, they won SEC championships, went to Sweet 16s at LSU. He spent some time at Link Academy a couple years, and now he was this year with Scott Drew at Baylor, and now this opportunity has finally opened itself up. Bill Armstrong getting a chance to be a collegiate head coach with the McNeese State Cowboys, who just made back-to-back NCAA tournaments and won their first game in history in this year as they knocked off Clemson, and he'll be taking that baton from his mentor, Will Wade. He's been kind enough to join us this morning to talk some Final Four and talk some college basketball on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Coach Armstrong, it's Drew DeArmond, Scott Tyson. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Drew and Scott. Thank you for having me on. I think everything that you said was spot on, except you might have stretched the truth a little bit about I played at UAB. I think I was more on the team, but I appreciate you guys saying that.
Hey, man.
You wore the uniform.
Yeah.
You wore the uniform. Yes, more than what we've done.
Yes. No
you guys
doubt.
doing good this morning?
Yes, sir, we are. First of all, just your initial thoughts on taking over for Will Wade at McNeese State. The program, this is a very tumultuous time in college basketball from a roster standpoint of trying to build rosters year to year, but you're taking over as a very healthy situation. He turned that program around. How excited are you to take that baton and continue the success of the Cowboys?
Oh, man, I couldn't be more excited. The people here of Lake Charles have just embraced McNeese State basketball and embraced me on the first day, and I can't wait to be in front of them playing the game. But we've already hit the ground running and got to work for them. You know, it's take over a situation that, you know, has been to back-to-back NCAA tournaments, beat Clemson this year, like you said. This is now a job where you reload. You know, it's not a rebuild, it's a reload here in Polk Nation. So we're excited to be here and to get to work.
How tough is it to try to build a roster? I guess with all these moving pieces now in college basketball, how difficult is it to build a roster when you come in as a new head coach?
Yeah, you know, luckily I had some experience. The people at Lincoln Academy gave me a great opportunity, and so I got to get up there, and that's run very similar to a college. You know, it's got its campus, and the guys are in dorms, and they you know, eat their meals, and we do everything. We travel like a college team. So I was able to get some experience doing that because you got to sign a whole new team back-to-back years. So, you know, it's a whole nother level here, but, you know, I kind of at least knew how to approach it to an extent. And, you know, we just jumped right in and tried to get on the guys that we knew. We got a commitment from Jacob Cole, who actually played for us at Link the year we won the national championship in year one. You know, with Jacoby Walter kind of leading the way on that, and Elliot Cadeau. You know, Jacoby's dad played for Coach Reboll at Birmingham Southern. Eddie Walter was on one of the national championships teams he won. So Coach Reboll, you know, it put me on Jacoby way back when, and to have him be able to come and have the success he had, it's kind of how, you know, it's funny how the coaching world works, and I imagine the business world itself, that, you know, all the dots end up connecting. Jacoby, through Jacoby's recruitment, he goes to Baylor. Scott Drew's in the gym. His staff's in the gym quite a bit. Trey Johnson then was being recruited by Baylor. And so that's how I got to know Scott and ultimately got to Baylor. So it was a good experience there. But, you know, we got some guys coming back. That was, you know, the most important recruits, just to get those two starters back. And we got our backup point guard back. Look for him to continue to build. He was a redshirt freshman. So we've got a great foundation laid here. All the supports in place, you know. I heard Kelvin Sampson say this a long time ago, and I said, you know, when I become a head coach, I truly believe that, and I'm going to use his line all the time. But, you know, coaches win games, administrations win championships. And from President Roos to Heath Schroyer, our athletic director, I don't think there's a better setup for a one-bid league in the country to make the NCAA tournament and try to make a run.
And then, of course, you working for Andy Kennedy, who's done a great job at UAB, and before that at Ole Miss. And then, of course, with Will Wade, you guys, both those stops had to attack recruiting in every facet, from the standpoint of a prep school kid like at a Link Academy, finding a high school player, or even the JUCO route. So I'm sure you're used to, you know, finding kids. And now, of course, we know the portal allows more movement, but you found players at pretty much every kind of stop.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, you know, all those experiences have helped us in, you know, the last week with recruiting, you know, being in junior college and getting to meet so many great junior college coaches, and then being in Division I as long as I have been, at so many different stops and so many different areas. You meet just so many people, and, you know, so many really good people that have just wanted to help. And, you know, it's helped me get off to a good start, and I think that we'll continue that as well.
So you and Drew just mentioned it. I mean, you had times with Andy Kennedy, Murray Bartow, Scott Drew. How much of your style that you put on the court have you blended from learning from all of these other coaches?
Oh, I would say from my dad to Coach Cross at Chipola, Dwayne Reebol, and then Andy Kennedy, Will Wade, Scott Drew. I'd say that all my style comes from a blend of those guys. It's different, but I took a little bit of everything and from them, from a style of play and a coaching style, so to speak. And they're the ones who have been my mentors and taught me everything that I know to get this opportunity, and then now to be able to hopefully, put a great product on the floor and win some games. And then that's the plan.
Well, we're talking to Bill Armstrong, new head basketball coach of the McNeese State Cowboys, Alabama native. You were fortunate enough with you spending your time with Scott Drew. You coached against Houston in the Big 12. And of course, you guys saw Duke in the NCAA tournament in the round of 32. You're uniquely qualified to break down this matchup. How do you see this? Duke looks like a juggernaut right now, but Houston, they've won 17 games in a row. The Big 12 it's definitely, I think, right now behind the SEC as far as the two best Power 4 leagues. Certainly, Houston is an outstanding program. Kelvin Sampson, always been one of my favorite coaches. Kind of put on your analyst hat here, and what do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I want to pose a question. You mean uniquely qualified because they both kicked our butts?
Well, I just wanted to say you guys played against them.
I'm kidding. I agree totally. Obviously, the year that the SEC had, that's incredible. 14 teams in the tournament. I doubt that'll ever be duplicated. They have had great run in the tournament with Florida and Auburn getting to the Final Four, and you got that Florida Texas Tech game, man, what a game, and it comes down to the wire, and or you'd had two Big 12 teams in the Final Four.
Exactly.
So what a great season for both leagues, and I agree to the two best basketball leagues in the country. But Houston, the styles are different. Houston's older. They've won a ton of games together. They're gritty and grimy, but they're not just that. I think that's their reputation. And obviously, Coach Sampson is, arguably the best defensive coach, arguably one of the best coaches in the country today. And John Shire is arguably the hottest upcoming coach in the country. They both do a tremendous job. So they're both extremely well coached. Duke's length is incredible, man. It's like playing against an NBA team.
Yeah.
It's a contrast in styles and in about every way. Houston is older and tough, and they grind you out. And Duke is surgical and super skilled at every position, and they defend too. I know they're a top 5 defense in the country as well. So it's going to be a war for in that game. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to watching it.
I got to ask you, were you shocked not to see any mid-majors get to that Sweet 16 in the Elite Eight?
Yeah, seems like we always do, and to not have one this year, I don't know if that's just complete coincidence or there's something to that in the era of basketball that we're in. I guess time will tell on that. I haven't really delved into the analytics of it, but surprised for sure for the Sweet 16, definitely. But once you get past those 8 teams in the Elite Eight were just so good.
Yeah.
So that I can't who I'm losing my mind. But the game between Texas Tech and the Sweet 16, the 2 seed that they beat, man, that was an unbelievable game. Oh, it wasn't the 2 seed; it was Arkansas as the 10 seed.
Right.
You have Arkansas, who's so talented, and that was the lowest seed in the Sweet 16. But as you know, John Calipari and the talent they have, they definitely belong there, and so they're definitely no mid-major by any stretch. But that was the lowest seed that advanced to the Sweet 16. Or what a game that was as well.
Yeah, and then, of course, Colorado State came the closest. They took a great shot by Derek Queen to eliminate Coach Nedved and those guys. And I knew one of those young kids. Scott and I both are very familiar with Bo Bourne, Mike Bourne's son. Coach Mike Bourne spent some time here coaching, and when the G League was here with the Huntsville Flight, that was his son. He'd spent 4 years at Northern Iowa. before finishing his career at Colorado State. But Coach, I guess that segues into this. I know you're putting your staff together. You're deciding how you're going to build this team. Is it going to be a portal heavy deal? Or are you going to still try to hit the high schools? Because I think Louisiana high school basketball is really good. How are you going to kind of what's your roster plan going in?
Louisiana high school basketball is very, very good. A lot of talent, a lot of great coaching. That being said, we're going to hit the portal hard and see the team that we put together and then kind of make some decisions from there, whether or not we'll go for any high school kid. It just kind of see how it all plays out. But I wouldn't mind having a mixture of, obviously portal heavy, but, maybe a junior college kid or two. And if we could add on a high school kid would be great as well.
Don't forget, Alabama, and too, Alabama very good on the high school ranks when it comes to.
We expect you to send you in these
we expect to see
man.
you up here in North Alabama at some point.
Yes, sir. And you'll see me for sure. Alabama's my home, and I try to get back there as much as I can. But the basketball there is great. I don't know if you saw the deal with Clark and Chuck and Kenny and all the guys talking about what's going on in the state of Alabama basketball, and it's pretty impressive.
No, it's awesome. And some real quick thoughts. I know you were concentrating on the Big 12. That's the league you're in, but you spent a long time in the SEC. Auburn having an unbelievable year under Coach Pearl, second time in 6 years to get to the Final Four. This has been a special run for Todd Golden. He's still like John Shire, one of the younger up-and-coming head coaches. But any thoughts on that Florida-Auburn matchup? It was a heck of a win for Florida and Neville earlier in the year.
Oh, man, the first thought is I can't wait to watch the game, man. What a game it's going to be. I know Auburn's going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, and Florida's so talented, and both those coaches are going to be Hall of Fame coaches. Coach Pearl will be first ballot, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Todd ends up being there as well. So a great matchup. Florida, I watched the game when Florida beat them in the jungle, and it was they beat them pretty good. So I know Auburn remembers that, and I can't wait to watch the game. I think that it's an interesting matchup. Florida's so big. Mm-hmm. And obviously Auburn relies a lot on Janai Broome, and I know he'll come out and give it his all. And then Auburn's guards are going to have to, outplay Florida's guards, I think, in order to be able to get the win. But man, what a game it's going to be.
I want to ask you, this is your first college head coaching stop.
Right.
And lots of times, you're going to get the start on Power 4 levels, mid-major level, I should say. What makes McNeese that spot to start at? Because it's sometimes it's a challenge to pick the right one and get the right opportunity, take the right opportunity that fits you the best. Why McNeese, and how does it fit you? And why was this the stop for you to make your coaching journey?
Well, ironically, Coach Wade told me, when I came to LSU, we were talking about, the goal was for us to win big there and me eventually become a head coach. And that's what I've always wanted to do. And he gave me some really good advice. He told me, don't take a job where there's no banners hanging. Don't think you can go in there and be the first one to hang a banner. So I just took his advice and followed him after he hung to. But no, McNeese is the reason that that McNeese is such a special situation is, like I said, one, the support of the administration at first and foremost, because they've made all this happen with believing in Will and giving him the opportunity. The facilities here are immaculate. Our facility, when you drive up, it looks like an NBA arena, and then the inside is beautiful, and it's a 4,000 seat plus arena where it creates an intimate atmosphere, but it's state of the art new, and then you got the practice facility inside of it, and we can just run it like a high major program from jump and get these kids in here that can. That some of them are needing kind of a reset from the high major level, and some of them are wanting to move up. And, you could just get good enough players here to win the league every year based off of the success that we've had and the facilities. And then on top of that, it's the best, I'm not saying this because I'm here. I would like to hear somebody pose an opposite argument, honestly, but it's for getting to the NCAA tournament. it's the best one league job setup in the country. And I would say that if as much as anything else, obviously, I got to know Dr. Roos just a little bit. I came to a few games the year I was at Link, and then I've known Heath for a long time. So obviously having administration that supports you was important. But as far as the setup, man, to be able to get back to the NCAA tournament is the goal here every year. So you want to go to a place like that, and then not only do you have all the things I mentioned just a few seconds ago, but you play the conference tournament in your home building. And I don't know that anybody else in the country does that, to my knowledge. And if you finish first or second in the league, which we finished first regular season the last 2 years, you get a double bye. So you got to win 2 home games to get the NCAA tournament. Obviously, it's been proven now that back-to-back years, not only do you get to the NCAA tournament, but you get a 12 seed. So you got an opportunity as a 12 seed to win a game or 2, or, from there, once you get to the Sweet 16, who knows what can happen. So, I think it's the best one bid league setup in the country, and I'm blessed with the opportunity and fortunate and grateful that they gave me the opportunity.
Well, we're happy for you, Coach. We've been tracking your career for a long time. We're very fortunate to be close to a lot of coaching friends of yours. But again, good luck in the Southland Conference. It's a great opportunity for you in your career. And of course, had a pretty good player there back in the day. One of my favorites, Joe Dumars, McNeese State.
Yeah, he wasn't bad, was he?
It wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad.
One of the best two-way
thank you
guards.
guys for having me on, and thanks for Scott Stapler. Give him the shout out that you already did for putting us together. And as you guys know, he's an unbelievable person and a great friend, and I know you guys like him a lot. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and let me know if there's any other time I'd love to come on.
Yes, sir.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Coach.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Look at that. We are now in Louisiana.
Yes, we are. Great food
Good
over there,
stuff.
too.
Good. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's get that final break in.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Atlanta Braves spring training is on from Florida, and this 2025 Brave squad is ready to get after it in Northport.
He waylays this thing way downtown. Swung on a fly ball, deep left center field, heading towards the gap. That is down for a base hit. Acuna hits the bag at third. Here he comes. Michael Harris taking no prisoners. It's a sweep.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond
We got
on
a headline right now,
97.7
Scott.
ESPN, The Zone.
All right, now you can go.
Yes, we have one.
What's our headline
It's
today?
one of our favorite people's birthday today, Scott.
Who's that?
Coach Studeman. Les Studeman.
Is it really?
Happy birthday, Coach.
Oh, boy. Happy birthday, Coach.
I heard you were ornery the other day, but I hope you're in a good mood today.
Just because she said the S word over the air doesn't mean she
I
was
said it
ornery.
too, but I'm on double secret probation.
And then 2 questions later, she says, "Oh, you can go ahead and beep that out."
Did I miss something?
Yeah, you missed it on the broadcast.
On the broadcast. So we were doing the softball game 2 weekends ago,
Yeah.
and they lost game 1 of the series.
Yeah.
So they had won the first game. It was on the Friday. They won the first game. I'm talking to her post game.
Yeah.
And she says, "I know my blank."
Yeah.
Right over the air. So
Adrenaline.
Steve and I just pause, and I'm like, then we ask her. I ask her another question. She answers it. And we're midway through that one, and she goes, "Oh, you can just beep that out."
It's the adrenaline pumping afterwards.
It's long gone.
What's that called? Hangman? What was that? Were you trying to spell something?
Yeah. She goes, "I know my beep."
Yeah. Beep.
Yeah.
She does.
She does. She let her rip.
Thanks to Bill Armstrong and Blake Lovell, all the callers. We appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning on a
Stay
Tuesday.
safe in the weather.
Yeah, it's rumbling.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure